I'm Joshua Orro, the Mustang Prince, and welcome to Mustang Prince Orro Reports. Well, folks, this is it. One of the big ones. But before we begin, let's talk about what's been happening after the battle with Ultron. Now, I've already mentioned the Sokovia Accords, which several of the Avengers like Tony Stark, Natasha Romanoff, James Rhodes, and Vision supported, but other Avengers like Captain Steve Rogers, Sam Wilson, Wanda Maximoff, and Bucky Barnes became fugitives of the law. A couple others like King T'Challa and Peter Parker became new recruits. Scott Lang and Clint Barton went under house arrest, while Thor and Bruce Banner have been absent for almost 2 years. However, little did the Avengers know that ever since before the 2012 New York battle, there was one villain who has been built up throughout the entire MCU Infinity Saga, and he's made it his goal to wipe out half of all life using the Infinity Stones. And after his subordinates' ongoing failures, he's decided to take matters into his own hands. Released on April 27th, 2018, the movie is Avengers Infinity War. And now, let's get started with the plot of the film. As the Avengers and their allies have continued to protect the world from threats too large for any one hero to handle, a new danger has emerged from the cosmic shadows: Thanos, whose ultimate goal is to collect all Infinity Stones, artifacts of unimaginable power, and use them to inflict his twisted will on all of reality. Everything that the Avengers have fought for has led up to this very moment, and the fate of Earth and existence itself has never been more uncertain. Now, what are my thoughts on the movie? Well, after seeing this movie in theaters with Vocational Visions, I thought this was a really thrilling movie, even though the ending was a bit of a cliffhanger. But still, I was really blown away by it. And to further explain why I like this movie, let's move on to Mustang Notes. The film was announced in October 2014 as Avengers Infinity War Part 1. The Russo brothers, who previously directed Captain America 2 and 3, came on board to direct the film in April 2015, and a month later, Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely signed on to write the script for the film, which drew inspiration from Jim Starlin's 1991 comic book, The Infinity Gauntlet, and Jonathan Hickman's 2013 comic book, Infinity. In 2016, Marvel shortened the title to Avengers Infinity War. Filming began in January 2017 at Pinewood Atlanta Studios in Fayette County, Georgia. Additional filming took place in Scotland, the downtown Atlanta area, and New York City. With an estimated budget of $325 to $400 million, this movie is one of the most expensive films ever made. And, of course, it was the very first superhero film to gross over $2 billion worldwide, breaking numerous box office records and becoming the highest grossing movie of 2018. Now, since this movie centers on the main villain going on an Infinity Stone hunt, let's talk about each stone and what they do. First is the Tesseract, which holds the Space Stone, which has the ability to grant the wielder absolute control over space itself, as well as opening portals to other locations, and can even allow interdimensional travel. Over the years, this stone has been wielded by many individuals, including Red Skull, Mar-Vell of the Kree Empire, the Skrulls, S.H.I.E.L.D., and Loki, before being taken to Asgard for safekeeping, until it was destroyed by Surtur in order to defeat Thor's evil half-sister Hela. Next is the Scepter, which housed the Mind Stone, which grants the user powerful mental abilities, like the power to subjugate the minds of others, bending them to the will of the user, as well as project the user's consciousness to a higher plane of existence and greatly increase intelligence. The stone was previously owned by Thanos, who lent it to Loki in 2012 to lead the Chitauri invasion, but after the New York battle, the scepter was confiscated by Hydra, whose scientists used it to give extraordinary powers to the Maximoff twins. After the fall of Hydra, the scepter was recovered by Tony Stark, who used the stone for the Ultron project, which went horribly wrong, and later Ultron released the stone from the scepter and placed it on the being that would become Vision. The next stone is the Ether, which is a liquid form of the Reality Stone, which gives the user the ability to warp reality at will, granting that person immense strength, durability, powers, and subjective influence over the universe. During the events of Thor: The Dark World, years after King Bor hid it away, Malekith, the leader of the Dark Elves, planned to use the Ether's reality-bending abilities to cover all 9 realms in darkness. However, he was stopped by the combined efforts of Jane Foster and Thor, and afterwards, the stone was given to Taneleer Tavan, the Collector, from the planet Nowhere. Next on our list is the Orb, which contains the Power Stone, which has tremendous energy manipulation capabilities. As I said in my Guardians of the Galaxy blog, the stone was, years ago, used by the celestial Eson the Searcher until it was hidden for a millennia on the planet Morag. But in 2014, before Ronan the Accuser could acquire the orb, it was stolen by Peter Quill, aka Star-Lord, prompting a galaxy-wide hunt that resulted in the orb being given to the Nova Corps from the planet Xandar for safekeeping. Next up is the Eye of Akamoto, which holds the Time Stone, which has the ability to physically control and redirect the flow of time. Over the years, this stone was placed under the protection of the Masters of the Mystic Arts of Kamartaj in Nepal, in case mystical forces would ever invade or destroy Earth. In 2017, Doctor Strange took possession of the stone and used it to defeat Caecilius and Dormammu. By the way, for those who haven't been following me lately, I blogged Doctor Strange's 2016 movie 4 years ago. And yes, I will get to his 2022 sequel soon enough. Maybe next year. Last but not least, we come to the Soul Stone, which has the ability to manipulate the soul, resurrect, and conjure the spiritual representation of the people who are dead, and give sentient to inanimate objects. Now, this stone ranks as possibly the most dangerous out of all of them, with it holding a very special standing amongst the others. Plus, it has a reputation of mystery throughout the galaxy. Even those who are well versed in the powers and even locations of the other 5 stones had very little concrete knowledge regarding the Soul Stone, to the point of only knowing its name. Heck, even the Asgardians knew little about the stone, with Thor stating that no one has ever seen it or knew where it was. However, it's revealed in this movie that the Soul Stone is kept in a shrine on the planet Vormir and under the protection of Red Skull ever since 1945. Unfortunately, the only way to acquire the stone is for someone to sacrifice a loved one. And what's even worse, the sacrifices are permanent and irreversible. Also to note, I think this movie is a lot more thrilling and heart-pounding than the previous 2 Avengers movies. And mostly, while you're watching, you're glued to the entire screen and hanging on to the edge of your seat, hoping that Earth's mightiest heroes might stop the evil Mad Titan from succeeding. Plus, I think the outer space visuals are really breathtaking, and I think the planet Titan looks very dried up and miserable due to its resources being drained, most of the population being extinct, and the upper atmosphere being ravaged by electrical storms. Another location in space that I liked in this movie is Nidavellir, which is not only the home world of the dwarves, but they also forged the most powerful weapons in the entire universe. Also, Rocket's reaction to Nidavellir is kind of like his reaction to Disneyland on Mission Breakout. Plus, out of all the fight scenes in this movie, I think the Wakanda battle is the most memorable, and it kind of makes me think of the Naboo battle in Star Wars Episode 1. And that's basically all I got from Mustang notes. So, let's move on to the cast. Let's start with Thor, played by Chris Hemsworth, whom has been in the 2009 Star Trek reboot, 2015's Vacation, and the 2016 Ghostbusters reboot. Not long after Hela was defeated and Asgard was destroyed, Thor's ship, the Asgardian Statesman, was attacked by Thanos and the Black Order while he was taking his people to Earth. After Thanos took the Space Stone and killed Loki, Thor was rescued by the Guardians of the Galaxy and teamed up with Rocket Raccoon and Groot to travel to Nidavellir in order to forge a Thanos-killing weapon known as the Stormbreaker. In my eyes, despite going through a lot, like losing his strength, his eye, and his hammer, I still think Thor is a noble and honorable warrior, and I think his new Stormbreaker is a really awesome weapon. Tony Stark, aka Iron Man, is played by Robert Downey Jr., whom was in Tropic Thunder, Sherlock Holmes, and that terrible 2020 Dolittle movie. In this movie, after the Avengers Civil War and mentoring Spider-Man, Tony and Pepper Potts are now husband and wife. But after meeting Doctor Strange and reuniting with Bruce Banner, Tony is informed that Thanos is hunting down the Infinity Stones. So, Tony makes it his mission to help Strange protect his Time Stone while traveling through space to battle Thanos on the planet Titan. To me, while Tony is a highly intelligent man who makes cool contraptions and weapons, I still don't like him for being a drug addict and a jerk, especially during scenes where he acts a bit too strict on Spider-Man. Next is Captain Steve Rogers, aka Captain America, played by Chris Evans, whom was in the Fantastic Four movies, TMNT, and Pixar's big screen return, Lightyear. In this movie, Steve is now a fugitive for violating the Sokovia Accords. He also struggles with the conflicts between his responsibility to himself and his responsibility to others. But after being contacted by Bruce Banner that Thanos and the Black Order attacked Earth seeking the final Infinity Stones, Captain Rogers, along with Sam Wilson and Natasha Romanoff, emerged from hiding in order to protect Vision and the Mind Stone. In my opinion, I still think Steve is a real patriotic super soldier, and I like that Steve has a pure heart, as well as a noble and honest spirit. Also, since I support Steve, I guess you could say that I too am a violator of the Sokovia Accords as well. Plus, when I saw this movie in theaters, I almost didn't recognize Steve due to the facial hair on his face. Next up is Bruce Banner, aka the Hulk, played by Mark Ruffalo, whom was in 13 Going on 30, Where the Wild Things Are, Now You See Me, and Date Night. As I said before, after defeating Ultron, Bruce ended up on the planet Sakaar, and while in his Hulk form, he became the Grand Master's champion, until Thor found him and recruited him to save Asgard from his evil sister Hela. However, in this movie, when Thanos attacked the Asgardian Statesman, Bruce, in his Hulk form, tried to fight the Mad Titan. Unfortunately, he was quickly defeated. Thankfully, Heimdall transported Bruce back to Earth, where he was able to warn Doctor Strange, Wong, Iron Man, and later Captain America of Thanos' arrival. To me, while Bruce is a brilliant scientist, I find it very disappointing that his Hulk form refuses to come out. But at least Bruce using the Hulkbuster makes up for it. Next we come to Dr. Stephen Strange, played by Benedict Cumberbatch, whom I remember from Peter Jackson's Hobbit trilogy, War Horse, Mowgli, Legend of the Jungle, The Penguins of Madagascar, and Illumination's The Grinch. Dr. Strange is a former neurosurgeon who discovered the hidden world of magic and alternate dimensions and became a master of the mystic arts, protector of the Sanctum Sanctorum, and the keeper of the Time Stone. To me, Strange is a very interesting superhero due to his mystic arts magic. Plus, he's a very quick reader, and I like his cloak of levitation, which has a mind of its own. Kind of like Count Dracula's from the Hotel Transylvania quadrilogy. Also to note, before he met Tony, Peter, and Bruce, Strange helped Thor locate Odin before he died. Anyway, in this movie, Strange becomes one of Thanos' targets, and he gets captured by Ebony Maw of the Black Order. Thankfully, Iron Man and Spider-Man come to his rescue by stowing away on a Q ship and blowing a hole in the ship's hull. However, while on the planet Titan, as Strange had seen into the future and knew his only path to victory, he had willingly handed over the Time Stone to Thanos in exchange for sparing Iron Man's life. Next is Vision, played by Paul Bettany, whom was in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, Master and Commander, The Far Side of the World, The Da Vinci Code, and Solo, a Star Wars story. In this film, about 2 years after the Avengers Civil War, Vision quietly left the Avengers in order to rebuild his relationship with Wanda Maximoff. However, he, along with Wanda, were soon attacked by Corvus Glaive and Proxima Midnight of the Black Order, whom were attempting to steal his Mind Stone from his head, under the orders of Thanos. Having been rescued by his allies, Vision agreed to have the Mind Stone removed from his head and destroyed as they traveled to Wakanda to enlist Princess Shuri's help. In my opinion, I still find Vision to be very polite and calm, and I like that he values all forms of life. Plus, I think it's very interesting that Vision's body manipulation gives him the ability to make himself look like a normal human. Also, I think Vision is very protective of his girlfriend Wanda, hence why he was forced into the open during the Wakanda battle despite being wounded. Also, the reason why I said that Vision is an underrated Avenger is because we Marvel fans have only known him for about 3 years before Thanos had to rip the Mind Stone from his head, killing him in the process. Next we come to the Guardians of the Galaxy, which consists of Peter Quill, aka Star-Lord, played by Chris Pratt, Gamora, played by Zoe Saldana, Rocket Raccoon, voiced by Bradley Cooper, Groot, voiced by Vin Diesel, Drax the Destroyer, played by Dave Bautista, and Mantis, played by Palm Clementif. In my eyes, I think the Guardians are the coolest and the outer galacticest ragtag superhero team ever in the MCU. And I really love the songs that play in both their movies and their Disney theme park attractions. Plus, I think their new spaceship, the Benatar, is absolutely awesome. And I like the part where they were playing the Spinners' Rubber Band Man song. Anyway, in this film, about 4 years after killing Peter Quill's father, Ego, the Guardians rescue Thor after receiving the Asgardian distress call, and they try to stop Thanos from getting all the Infinity Stones. In my eyes, I think Rocket and Groot stick out the most in this movie due to them joining Thor in getting the Stormbreaker and helping the other Avengers during the Wakanda battle. Also, because Gamora is Thanos' stepdaughter and that she knows that the Soul Stone is on Vormir, she too has a very interesting role in this. As for the other Guardians, well, I like that they help Iron Man, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, and later Nebula fight Thanos on the planet Titan, despite the fact that Quill stupidly let his anger get the better of him and had him retaliate against the Mad Titan, which allowed Thanos to overpower the group. Next we come to my absolute favorite Marvel superhero, Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man, played by Tom Holland, whom was in The Impossible, Pixar's Onward, Blue Skies, Spies in Disguise, and he'll soon be playing Fred Astaire in the upcoming biography film in 2024. Now, before I continue, I must make something perfectly clear. Peter's MCU debut was, in reality, Iron Man 2, where he was about 9 years old attending one of Tony Stark's expos about 5 years before getting bitten by a radioactive spider and becoming the web-slinging hero that we all love. Plus, I think Tom Holland is my very favorite Spider-Man actor ever, and I think his web-slinger ride at Disney California Adventure, which opened last year, is a lot of fun. So much so that I actually bought my own web shooter. Anyway, in this movie, while on a bus heading for the Museum of Modern Art, Peter's spider sense alerts him that the Black Order had invaded Earth. So Peter joins Iron Man as a stowaway to rescue Doctor Strange from space and joins up with the Guardians of the Galaxy in their attempts to prevent Thanos from collecting the 6 Infinity Stones. To me, Peter's iron spider armor is really cool, and believe me, Spider-Man is one superhero whom I'd team up with on an adventure any day. Also, out of all the victims of Thanos' snap, Spider-Man's disintegration really affected me the most. So much so that I became very, very heartbroken. Our next character is Wanda Maximoff, aka Scarlet Witch, played by Elizabeth Olsen, Mary Kate and Ashley's sister, whom was in the 2014 Godzilla reboot. In this movie, after a year of peace with Vision, Wanda tries to defend him from the Black Order when they were ambushed in Scotland. So Wanda rejoins the Avengers and takes part in Wakanda's defense. In fact, during the battle, Wanda was forced to kill Vision in order to prevent Thanos from completing the Infinity Gauntlet, but to no avail. In my opinion, Wanda's chaos magic is very mysterious, but also pretty strong. Plus, I think her relationship with Vision is very special and romantic. Moving on, we come to King T'Challa, aka Black Panther, played by the late Chadwick Boseman, who played Jackie Robinson in 42.
42?
Who is that guy? Anyway, T'Challa became king of Wakanda after the death of his father, T'Chaka, in a bombing attack orchestrated by Helmut Zemo, who framed Bucky Barnes as the culprit. However, while Black Panther took part in the Avengers Civil War, he captured Zemo after learning the truth and handed him over to Everett Ross, while also vowing to never allow desires of vengeance consume him ever again. In this film, after being challenged by his cousin Eric Killmonger, T'Challa agrees to allow the Avengers to keep Vision in the city, where Shuri could remove the Mind Stone, while mobilizing both his Wakandan troops and the Jabari troops to help battle against the Outriders. To me, despite the fact that Chadwick Boseman is no longer with us anymore, no thanks to colon cancer, T'Challa is a very responsible person, as well as polite, respectful, and very caring for the people he's around, and who he considers as his friends. And he's also willing to take action whenever it is necessary. Plus, I think T'Challa makes a very noble leader, and I like that his team was able to cure Bucky from Hydra's brainwashing program, and I also like that T'Challa gives Captain America a substitute shield. Also to note, I'm feeling very curious about the upcoming Black Panther sequel this coming November. Next we have the Black Order, or the Children of Thanos, which consists of Ebony Maw, played by Tom Vaughan Lawler, Cult Obsidian, played by Terry Notary, Proxima Midnight, played by Carrie Coon, and Corvus Glaive, played by Michael James Shaw. These guys are an elite team who use their abilities to serve their adoptive father Thanos. As the Mad Titan's vicious generals, they assist him in his mission to find and harness the power of the Infinity Stones. Each of them have a very specific superpower appropriate to their character. For example, Ebony Maw has advanced telekinesis, Colt Obsidian uses a chain hammer, Proxima Midnight uses a 3-pronged spear, and Corvus Glaive uses a large double-sided polearm that can cut through materials as strong as vibranium. To me, while Ebony Maw was the easiest to defeat, I think these characters are not just powerful, but they're also very ferocious, scary, and dangerous. Last but not least, we come to the film's main star and villain, Thanos, played by Josh Brolin, whom was in The Goonies, Men in Black 3, Gangster Squad, Deadpool 2, Dune, and Milk. Thanos is a genocidal warlord from the planet Titan, whose main objective is to bring stability to the universe by wiping out half of all life at every level. As he believed, its massive population would inevitably use up the universe's entire supply of resources and perish. In order to complete his goal, Thanos plans to hunt down all the Infinity Stones, being confident that the combined forces of the stones would grant him sufficient power. Over the course of the Infinity Saga, Thanos and his Black Order invaded multiple planets, slaughtered thousands, and forged alliances with Loki and Ronan the Accuser in order to track down some of the stones. But after their failures and defeats, Thanos decides to take matters into his own hands. To me, Thanos is very cruel, arrogant, destructive, and deranged, and he'll stop at nothing to wipe out half the universe. During the events of this movie, he kills the Xandarians and Nova Corp to get the Power Stone. He attacks the Asgardian statesmen and kills Loki to get the Space Stone. He kills the Collector to get the Reality Stone. He sacrificed Gamora to get the Soul Stone. He kills Vision to get the Mind Stone. And he wounds Iron Man to persuade Doctor Strange to give him the Time Stone. By the way, while I may not forgive Thanos for wiping out half the universe 4 years ago, at the same time, I feel glad that me and many others are still alive from that snap. But I also hope that Thanos has not disintegrated any of my Italian relatives or any of my closest childhood friends. Other members of the cast include Peter Dinklage as Eitri the Dwarf, Denai Guerrari as Okoye, Letitia Wright as T'Challa's sister Shuri, Winston Duke as M'Baku, Don Cheadle as James Rhodes, aka War Machine, Karen Gillan as Gamora's sister Nebula, Scarlett Johansson as Natasha Romanoff, aka Black Widow, Sebastian Stan as Bucky Barnes, aka Winter Soldier, Anthony Mackie as Sam Wilson, aka Falcon, and Ross Marquand as Johann Schmidt, aka Red Skull. And now, on to my final words. Overall, Avengers Infinity War is a really thrilling movie in the MCU Infinity Saga. The story is very thought-provoking, the visuals are breathtaking, the action and fight scenes are really incredible, there are interesting twists and turns here and there, the acting is fantastic from both the heroes and the villains, and Josh Brolin does a brilliant performance as Thanos. By the way, in case you're wondering, yes, I will blog Avengers Endgame, but I'm planning to save this movie for a Season 11 episode, due to 2023 being the Endgame year and all. Anyway, I highly recommend everybody to check this movie out, whether you're a Marvel fan or not. And trust me, this film will really have you blown away. I give this movie a 98% out of 100. Well, that's all for now. Be sure to join me for my next blog, Mustang Power. So, it seems that Thanos couldn't disintegrate the Mustang Prince, huh? Well, judging by the progress of sick victims, my bats have spread my virus to over 5,000 people last month. So, not too bad so far. And that pathetic god Thor may have chopped off Thanos' head 4 years ago, but I feel it in my blood vessels that the Mad Titan will return next year. But in the meantime, I must come up with a plan to make Joshua look really bad to all those pathetic fools who look up to him and follow his stupid little blog show. Soon, Mustang Prince, you'll be the one unmasked as the autistic loser you really are.